Hey, welcome back to the Probate Agent. This is Anthony Nitz, the Probate Agent. Hey, welcome. In the last episode, we talked about how I had to find a different source for these types of leads and how, it had to have the one-to-many feature built into it and how specialization is what made it all happen.
So the big question is this. How are ordinary agents, just like us, supposed to stand out in the overly crowded real estate space while living a great lifestyle without having to go broke or radically change what we're already doing? Probate is the answer, and this series will show you how. I'm Anthony Nitz, and welcome to the Probate Agent.
So why is it so important to specialize in probate? This is a conversation, a topic, a question that I get all the time as opposed to other specialties and or specialization in general. And, typically a generalist, or real estate agent tends to have a broad range of skills, right? This is kind of just a general definition. It's a broad range of skills and experience across a wide range of disciplines, right? On the other hand, specialists invest their time and efforts in becoming the go-to person in a certain niche, okay? And what we find in our space in the real estate space is that almost all real estate agents are generalists. We'll talk about that a little bit more in detail here. As a generalist or real estate agent, you also have way more competition from other real estate agents because you're all competing for the same listings and the same buyers. Many people believe that by casting a wider net as a real estate agent or generalist will attract more clients. And I got to tell you, when I'm coaching and training agents and I'm trying to help them understand this, I'll take a piece of paper and I'll put it on the ground and I'll say this, like this one will say short sales and this one will say first time buyers and then this paper will say probate and then this one will say foreclosures and then this one will say multifamily, whatever. And I'll literally have them stand in the room and go, okay, well, guess what? I'll toss a ball up. And I'll say, well, this one's a short sale. Go get it. Well, and almost every time, by the time I toss it up and it hits the ground, they are not able to run over there fast enough to grab the ball. And then I toss one over to the probate side, and then I toss one to the first-time buyer side, and I toss it, and I'm kind of doing this, and I'm trying to demonstrate to them that a lot of times, as agents, we try to cast a wide net. We do everything, right? We try to do everything. And as a result, we get very, very little. However, if they just stood on in this case, probate spot, then of the 3 balls that I threw over there, they would have ended up getting all 3 of them, right? And which is more than what they got by trying to chase around all of the other types of specialties that are available in our space, right? On the other hand, others believe that by casting too wide a net, a real estate agent might be good at many things, but not great at any one thing, right? You've heard the saying, a jack of all trades is a master of none. And that's kind of the common case for most real estate agents, right? We're all good at a lot of stuff, not super great at any one thing. But as a specialist, you become more attractive to many clients who are looking for a specific skill or ability. Let's consider this. You go to a party and you're standing around and there's other people chit-chatting and stuff. And you walk up to somebody and you say, well, what do you do? And they say, well, I'm a doctor. And you're like, oh, great. Okay, cool. All right, that's good. Good, noble profession, right? But if you were to walk up to that same person and they say they're a brain surgeon, you would go, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. That's got to be really interesting, and you must have great stories to tell. And right now you have a different level of interest and perception of what the value of that person offers, right? You go up to somebody and say, hey, well, they say, well, oh, I'm a construction worker, right? And in your mind, you're going, okay, great. They sit there and swing a hammer all day long. versus somebody says, I build mansions. Oh, whoa, wow, okay, that's cool. What have you built? Who have you built for? What kind of special things do you do? That sort of stuff, right? Or you go to, somebody says they're a yoga teacher versus, I develop yoga plans specifically for people with injuries. Oh, really? Oh, okay, wow, that's interesting, right? And so having a specific skill or whatnot, a specialty creates a better perception or more interesting perception and creates curiosity in the eyes of the people that you are talking to, and actually gives you a higher level of authority and respect and that sort of thing. So the more specific your skill set, the less you have to sell yourself as an expert in that particular area. Okay, I want you to get that. The more specific your skill set, the less you have to sell yourself as an expert in that particular area. And when we get to the end of this podcast, I'm gonna share with you how to set yourself up as a probate specialist, really, really simply, so that now you create that different level of perception. Specialization creates differentiation. It allows you for branding, and it brings a unique value to the conversation. I want you to get this because, I used to do this. I actually, gosh, I wish I still had some of the recordings of this, because I would record these conversations. I would go into an open house. I'd randomly pick an open house. And I would play this little game with the real estate agent. I just pretend like I was a customer, just coming looking just like everybody else. And when I walked in, and this happened, 8 or 9 times out of 10, when I walk in, I'd say, hey, oh, nice house, this and that, everything like that. And I'd say, oh, so are you the listing specialist for this area? And their almost immediate answer is, oh, yeah, oh, absolutely, yes, we specialize in listing homes in this area. Oh, that's too bad, because I was looking for a buyer's agent. Oh, no, we do that too. We help buyers all the time buy houses. Oh, okay. So then do you work with buyers who are looking to buy in this neighborhood? Oh, yes, absolutely. We can find, if there's a home for sale in this neighborhood, we can help you buy in this neighborhood. Oh, well, that's too bad, because I was looking for a home in the next city over. Oh, no, we do. We sell homes in that city too. We can help you with buying in the next city. Absolutely. No, we can help you with that. Oh, really? Okay. So, but do you work with first-time buyers? Yep, absolutely. Oh, definitely. We are the first-time buyer experts. We know everything about all the first-time buyer programs and everything. Oh, well, we're, downsizing. So we actually need, someone who understands the downsizing. Oh, we do that, And so I would play this game, and almost, like I said, 8 or 9 times out of 10, the agents would always respond with, oh, yes, we can do that too, and we can do that too, and we can do that too. And the farther and farther and farther I would get down that process, eventually they'd catch on and they'd be like, what's going on here, right? But they clearly identified themselves as a jack of all trades, a master of none, and therefore do not create a high level of value to any one particular person, right? And some agents, they get so scared to say that they specialize in something that they blow more opportunities because of it. Like I said, going back to the thing where I would place the papers on the floor and make them run from spot to spot to try to catch these different deals that were coming through. And I know why. The reason is because you feel like if you try to specialize in one thing, then you're going to miss all those other opportunities. But I would say, based on my experience, based on my history and my coaching and training and all the stuff I've done in the past, that thousands and thousands of opportunities are missed every day because people don't specialize. So why probate in particular? Well, there are very few other niches that maintain a consistent flow of clients, guys. Now, people joke around, hey, people are dying every day, and guess what? It's reality. That is a fact. People do die every single day. Okay, there's two things you can't get away from: death and taxes, right? And so because of that, yes, there is a consistent flow of clients. And it doesn't matter if we're in a recession, if we're in a depression, if we're in a booming economy, if the market is shifting, it doesn't matter, right? Because people still have these homes that they have to sell if they're in a probate, or like we talked about before, people who are have trusts. Their families are in a trust, and there's, just for a little bit of history, there's or not history, but just a little background knowledge here. Based on different studies and reports and things that I've read, most of the country, most people don't put their houses in a trust. It's crazy, and it's ludicrous, and it's mind blowing to me that they don't do this, but they don't do this, and therefore, when grandma or mom and dad pass away, that house goes into a probate. Okay. And, so these leads are out there. These opportunities are out there. However, there's two areas, and I want to say it was mostly from like mid California, San Francisco, all the way down to Southern California. A lot of people have their properties in trusts, and then also I want to say, gosh, where was it? In the Virginia, Washington, D.C. Oh gosh, there's another area, and I wish I had this for you, but I don't. But they have a lot of those properties are in trust. So, like for example, you can go into certain areas, and they'll have a population of 100,000, and and there will be 250 probates on the list for this week, right? Other areas you'll go into, like Los Angeles, and there'll be 1 million properties, there'll be a million properties, but there's only 30 probates for the week. So it's just kind of it's just interesting, just something good to know. Anyways, like I said, there's a lot of other niches, but they're not as recession and market shift proof, right? Because when people sell in a trust, it's actually even better than selling in a probate, because most of the time, or a lot of times, they have equity and that sort of thing. So even if the market shifts and we're in a foreclosure market or something like that, you can still sell those properties all day long. Okay. Why probate in particular? Also, probate, it garners a higher perceived value and therefore more respect for you. Guys, we're in the real estate business, right? And so where do they put real estate agents on the trust scale? They put real estate agents just above used car salesmen. Hate to say it, but it's been said over and over and over for decades. Regardless of what you think, and regardless of what you think, well, but I am at a different level. Yes, okay, great, but it doesn't matter. The consumer base as a whole, that's kind of where they put us. And probably the reason is because it's such a low bar of entry to get in. A lot of people get in, and frankly, there's a lot of people in this business who shouldn't be allowed to be in this business. That's my opinion, guys. I'm just telling you like it is. Unless you dedicate and commit yourself towards this business, it's not a hobby to be dealing with somebody's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. In my opinion, I'm just saying it like it is. Okay. And also, it's perceived that because it is involved with the legal elements of things, right? Probate, dealing with the legal side, the court and everything, it must be more difficult to attain that specialty. So again, elevating that option in people's mind. Okay. So as a result, you can offer a better value proposition. Okay. I deal with attorneys and judges and legal documents and things like that other agents don't deal with, right? So you can give a better value proposition, and and therefore gives you a higher perception of authority. Okay, and then ultimately you can, as a result, and we'll talk more about this in a little bit, potentially charge more for your fees, or if you're in a head-to-head battle with somebody else who's undercutting and you are willing to match their offer, then you'll win that listing almost every single time. Also, there's another benefit, and that is that when you specialize, there's like a safety net that you can always retreat to if things change or get tough. Now, I say it's the other way around, but I'm kind of sharing some thoughts of some other leaders as well. They say it's a safety net to back up into if things get tough. Well, I say it's the other way. If you specialize in probate, you be the specialist in probate. And if things get tough, then you back up into being a generalist and start picking up other things. Let's compare with some other specialties, some other areas that people claim to be experts in, and pros and cons of them. So like short sale experts, right? Boy, at one point in time, I was a short sale expert. Why? Because everything was a short sale. So I had to be a short sale expert. But guess what? There's hardly any, in my area anyways, there's hardly any short sales going on right now. Now, does that mean they'll come back? They might, but being a short sale expert depends on the conditions of the market. And it does not provide a consistent flow of business unless the market is in a down market, right? Somebody else was saying that they were a horse property expert, and that's awesome. I love that, because I honestly don't know a whole lot about horse properties and the special nuances that go along with that. But if you live in an area where it's all horse properties, well, guess what? Everyone is an expert, right? Or the challenge with this sometimes, and I've had people in my area, because we do have areas that have horse properties, and they promote themselves. We're the horse property expert. Well, when there's no sales in those horse property areas, there's no new listings, people don't tend to go to them and say, okay, great, come sell my tract home, right? Hey, you deal with horse properties. My house is, a little, 1,700 square feet on, 6,000 square feet lot, right? So where does your horse property specialty, benefit me? No, it kind of doesn't. If you're the condo king, we had a guy in the area, and I love the guy. I'm actually friends with him, went to high school. And he went around and he was the condo king. Now, did he sell a lot of condos? Yes, he did. He sold a lot of condos. He had it down as far as being the condo king. But again, a lot of people never called the condo king to come and sell their houses. He ended up dropping that whole target that he was going after, because he was realizing at the time that these condos, they sell for, let's just say $200,000 in our area. But houses were selling for 5 and 6 at the time. Well, do you think his commissions were high? No, but he did have a specialty. I will tell you that, when you work on a specialty, he got more business as the condo king than he probably got as the area specialist for everything, right? As a generalist. People, they're foreclosure specialists. And again, it's gone. As soon as the market recovers, it's gone. Okay, do people still have foreclosures? Yeah, sure they do, but there's not enough for people to say, okay, I need a foreclosure specialist. Why? Because they probably have equity, and they probably end up selling the house before it goes into foreclosure, right? And also there's a perception of Well, if you're the foreclosure specialist, my house isn't in foreclosure. I don't need a foreclosure expert to come and sell my house, you know. And then there's the divorce specialist, and this actually kind of fits right in with the whole probate thing, because it also has a consistent flow of leads. You know, you got to be just as sensitive, just as you are in the probate space, because nobody wants to be told that their their vows that they said we're going to be together failed, right? But that is also that is also, in my opinion, another great niche. And also, when you're at the probate court, if you're looking at documents, you slide over to the divorce counter, you can get those leads too. But that's one of the very few that also fits into the same category. But what about luxury homes? It's very competitive. Unless you have a sub niche, it's hard to separate yourself from others. So you go walk into that vintage or into that luxury home specialty, and you're like trying to present yourself as, we are the luxury home sellers. Unless you really have something special to offer, what makes you different than everybody else? And in fact, most of these people who have these luxury homes, they're going to be a little bit more savvy. They're going to be a little more scrutinizing as far as who they end up having come and sell their house. And then, of course, there is the vintage home expert. So, I have a good friend. He knew every little nuance about vintage homes, special cuts on the tongue and groove that was only done between this period and that period, and this type of molding, was handled by this original artist, and and I was like, whoa, blown away. But here's where it gets difficult, is that with vintage homes, they can definitely drive higher prices because people are like, oh, I want that nostalgia and whatnot. But that's only during a booming economy. What he found out was that when the economy's flat or it's going down, it's just another house. It's just another house. And the fact that it is a vintage home might make it a little more saleable, but people don't end up paying the premium that they normally would on a vintage home. So point is, specializing in something, if it's not probate, it's, specialize in something. Just understand the pros and cons of what it is that you're specializing in. And there's people that they argue that specializing is typically less flexible and has the potential to be less adaptable to certain situations and clients' needs, like that's kind of like what I demonstrated. It's like, oh, well, because people could argue, well, you specialize in probates, but can you sell condos? Well, you specialize in probates, can you sell a short sale? Can you that sort of thing? And this is one of the great things about probate, is that while it is a very specific specialty, it allows us to cover a lot of ground, because as a probate specialist, that doesn't narrow your type of property that you can sell, because you can sell condos, you can sell houses, you can sell multifamily, you can sell fixer-uppers, you can sell it in this location or that location, you can sell it at this price range or at that price range. It doesn't matter. It's not limiting you to a particular area. Consider this scenario: a client's looking to sell their condo in a local high-rise, right? The client has to choose between one of 5 other agents, and while they all may have great presentation, in the end of the day, they're all generalists, right? They all have similar marketing plans. They all put together the same flyers. And honestly, folks, we have to realize that honestly, we're going to do the same thing. We're basically going to use the same techniques too, but you have something different. You can walk in and you can say, as a probate specialist, that you work with a lot of properties through the court system and with attorneys and directly with title officers or closing agents. And as a result, you're able to cut off any problems before they happen. And they do. Problems happen, right? Or you have the ability to at least deal with them swiftly if they do arise. Okay, do you get that? Do you get that you can walk in and you can create just a little bit more value than the other people? And so what agent would the client choose? And the short answer is they're always going to choose the specialist. And that's you. If they're comparing apples to apples, you are the orange, right? You're the one who stands out in that situation. And so, when people ask me, why should I specialize? Well, there's several reasons to specialize. Number one, most clients, they're looking for agents who are good at what they do. Of course, they don't want bad agents. They want good agents, right? Or they want somebody who's great at only one thing, okay? Clients also appreciate the sheer amount of time and energy, or I should say, the perceived time and energy it takes to specialize and become an expert in one area. Okay? Malcolm Gladwell, he wrote a book called The Story of Success. And he said that to become an elite master at anything, it requires 10,000 hours of practice. That equates to about 20 hours per week of practice for every 10 years. Okay? Or 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 44 weeks a year for 5.5 years. Okay? That's what you have to do to become an expert. And there's little doubt that shelling out that much time into a skill will equal success. You will be successful if you spend that much time on something, right? After all, common sense tells our clients that the more you put into it, the more that you get out. But here's the great thing about probate. It doesn't take 10,000 hours to specialize in it. It does not take 10,000 hours to specialize in it. You can take 10 hours and learn enough about probate that separates you from everybody else in your space. Okay? Specialists also have a unique value proposition. It's infinitely better to be the one in a million than to be like a million others. Okay? Let me say that again. It is infinitely better to be the one in a million than to be like a million others. And I know you've heard this before. We all hear the story about the fish, the one fish swimming against the crowd, right? And they stand out and they're different. And we all know this, but we all revert back to the generalist thing because, again, we think, I better be, ready to get that first-time buyer and that that foreclosure property and that short sale and then this and then that. And I got to be ready to get all those things, right? I get it. It's scary. It's scary. But here, let me point something out to you here. So in my area where I work, and this is an exercise that you need to do, and I'm going to tell you to do this later anyways, but first of all, find out how many agents are in your area that you service. So like for your county, for example. So I have the county that I work in. And I want to find out how many active agents there are. So I did some research. There's 3 boards in our county, 3 real estate boards. I called each one of them. I found out, and I said, hey, well, I'm just doing a little research. Can you tell me how many active agents do we have, for this board? And what I found out between the 3 boards that we have, there are 26,000 active agents in the county that I service. Okay. And, you're probably sitting there going, holy smokes. And maybe you're just going, what? That's nothing. We got more. Okay. But there's 26,000 active agents. And then what I did next was I went and I pulled last month's sales through the MLS. How many homes sold through the MLS? And it was 2,100. So less than 10% of the equivalent of the number of agents in the county were homes sold. Okay? Do you think that there's some competition? Oh, well, Anthony, but there's two sides to the transaction. Okay, so 4,200. 4,200 sides. A bunch of those were double-ended. I frequently double-end my sales. But whatever, let's assume everybody gets a side. There's 4,200 sides out of 26,000 agents. And that if those, there's 26,000 agents, it's the same top 10 or 20% of the agents who are doing the business. So, in other words, there's a lot of people starving. Okay? A lot of people are suffering being part of this business. And not trying to burst anybody's bubble, but this is stuff you need to know so that you understand I need to stand out like a big red beacon in the marketplace. Okay? Somehow, some way, probate is one of those ways. Okay? People ask me all the time, well, how many of those people are really active? And I said, well, you know what? Hey, from my perspective, this is my perspective is that if somebody is paying board dues, if they paid their board dues for the year, and I don't care if they're a 1 hour a week agent, I consider them active and I consider them competition. Why? Because if somebody called them and said, hey, you know what? We're thinking about selling our house. I know you have your real estate license. Can you come talk to us? You better darn well sure believe that they're going to go and take that listing away from you if they can. Because that means, depending on what area you're in, that might mean 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 or more in a commission to them to sell one house. Oh, you bet. So I don't care if they're just 1 hour active or not. I consider them active and competitive, right? So know your numbers. And if nothing else, that will tell you why it's so important to be a specialist. Because if I take those same numbers and I go, well, how many people truly specialize in probate? And I'm not talking about the people who in their online profile say, yes, we specialize in probate. Because everybody puts it on there, right? Because they know everybody knows it's a good place to be. But do they actually go out and get it? No, they don't do it. But if I had to take those numbers out of 26,000 agents in the county that I work in, 40, 30 even maybe, what I consider active, actual probate specialists in this county. Okay? And so do you think that they get the majority of the business? Yeah, of course they do. They get a majority of that business because they specialize. There's some other traits that most specialists have. It includes hard work, right? People perceive if you're a specialist that you've put hard work into it, that you're creative, that you have commitment, that you have diligence and focus. And it's not that generalists don't also share many of these traits. It's just that when an agent specializes, it's, again, perceived. I want you to understand, this is from the consumer side of things. They perceive that you must work much harder at the one thing, and then these traits become your focus and your opportunity for growth. Okay. Besides, when an agent specializes or even burrows down even further within a specialization to find a niche, clients know exactly what they are getting, right? It's crystal clear. So consider this. If someone is looking for someone who specializes in probate, you will definitely rise to the top. But if they need help buying a home for their kid, having a probate specialty will only elevate your position in that person's eyes. And they will hope that you will accommodate them and help them with their little meager purchase, even though, you are different. You are exceptional, right? It's kind of like asking, remember Johnny Cochran from the O.J. Simpson trial? If it doesn't fit, you must acquit, right? He got O.J. Simpson off for murder, right? It's like calling him up and asking him to help with a speeding ticket. I know he's long since passed away, but but that would be the equivalent, right? When they call you up as a probate specialist, it's like asking you to help them out with the speeding ticket. Do you mind? Can you help? I know, look, I know you're, big time expert, but do you mind just helping me find a place for my kid? Yeah, sure, we can do that for you. Absolutely. And as a result, there's another huge benefit to specializing. I've talked about the perception of value. With all of the low-cost, flat-fee brokerages and online sites all popping up, giving away the commissions, there's something that they can never can compete with, and that is a perception of value. See, because they've created a commodity. The more people buy or sell, the lower their price, and everyone is fighting for that low-price leader position. Do you guys have people in your marketplace who are fighting for that low price? The agent who's promoting all over town will, list your house for 1% or 0.5%. I've seen some of those. I'm like, what? You guys are nuts. Or flat fee or something like that. And you're going, oh my gosh. But the saying goes, and you, of course, point this out in your presentations, you get what you pay for. Do you want to risk listing your home for sale with someone who doesn't have the knowledge I have to resolve potential serious issues to save a few bucks? Do you want to take that risk? And there's a saying that one of my mentors uses, and that is that people will pay more for the same thing packaged a different way. What does that mean? And he's not talking specifically about real estate agents. He's talking about marketing in general, but it still very much applies. People will pay you more, or at least haggle with you less about your commissions when you specialize. In the end, if it just comes down to price, where they're, talking to other agents and they're saying, hey, well, this guy's, offering me this commission, would you be willing to beat it, right? Because there is that commodity issue where at some point people just say, well, we just care about commission, but fine. If you have to go in there and match the commission, but you have the specialty, you're going to win every single time. Okay. And let's face it, most of the stuff that you'll do, it's going to be the same thing every other agent does, right? It's going to be the same thing. You're going to take the same photos. You're going to put the same MLS description. You're going to do the same open house, the same negotiations. But you offer more value to the customer than your competition does, and that's why you should specialize. When I figured this out at one time, I realized, I need to specialize. I talked about that in one of my previous episodes. And what I did was I said, okay, well, I'm going to get good at something. And my specialty at the time when I got into real estate was first-time buyers. That really was where I, got my feet into the business. And I was good at it. But I had a business card, and on the business card, it said first-time buyers, move-up buyers, probate, downsizing, fixer-uppers. It listed, 22 different things on there that I had that specialized in everything. I specialized in everything. Of course. Why? Because I was doing the thing that I teach other agents not to do, and that is to bounce all over the place, trying to catch everything and end up catching nothing. Okay. The only reason my first-time buyer program was successful was just because of word of mouth. It wasn't because of me saying that I specialize in everything. And did I have people at the time calling me for probate? No. Did I have them calling me for foreclosure stuff? No. Did I have, just because it was on my business card? No. But what I realized when I learned about the importance of specialization was, I said, oh, you know what? When I'm standing here and I'm having a conversation with somebody and they say, you know what, we are, dealing with, our condo. We need to sell our condo. Well, what I did, and I handed them that card. I go, oh yeah, sure. It made me not stand out in any way, shape, or form. I was like every other real estate agent. It was a matter of throwing all 10 real estate agent cards on the table and going, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. What difference does it make? No, it didn't make any difference, right? But what I did was I started realizing, okay, I got to specialize. I went and I had a business card that said very specifically, first-time buyers specialist. And that's all it said. Anthony Nitz. It had my number, had my brokerage information on there. First-time buyer specialist. That's it. Nothing else on it. And then, because I was already good at that, I said, okay, well, I'm going to add another specialty. Because you can add more than one specialty, right? You can have more than one, but if you try to promote all of them at the same time, you're a specialist in nothing, is kind of the point I'm making. And so what I did was I went and I'm trying to remember what the next specialty thing I was in. I want to say it was short sales or something. And so I went and I had a card made. Oh no, it was luxury properties. And so I went and I had a second card made. And on that card it said, luxury estate sales or something like that. And I would actually carry 2 cards around with me. And later on I added another card. And I want to say that one was, probably probate or something like that. So what I'm trying to describe to you is I literally had, at one point in time, I think I had 5 or 6 different cards with me all the time. And in my right jacket pocket, I would have my first-time buyer cards. In my left jacket pocket, I would have my probate cards. On my inside right jacket pocket, I would have a different one, whatever it was, right? And so if I was at a party or a networking event or somewhere where there's other people and somebody said, oh yeah, we're thinking about buying our first house, I reach into my right jacket pocket and I go, oh, you know what? Just so happens I specialize in first-time buyer sales. Helping you out. I know all the programs. It's good. Here, take my card. And people would call me off that because they would look at the other cards and they would go, oh, everybody else's card looks exactly the same. Except for this guy. This guy's first time, that's all he does. Oh my gosh, well, let's talk to the guy who specializes in first-time buyers. I run into an attorney at a party. What do? I pull out my probate card and I hand them that. Yep, that's what I specialize in. I'm sitting there talking to, the mayor of the city and, or other leaders. I pull out my luxury estates card. Okay. So I would always make sure that the audience that I was talking to would allow me to give them that specialty. Now, am I sitting here telling you go make up 26 different cards and carry them? No, not at all. Because in the end of the day, the only card that I hand out is my probate card. So, and it's for all the reasons that I'm telling you now. But the point that I'm making to you is that you get a lot more business by being a specialist in a particular area. And there's scholars out there that they argue that specializing allows workers to get ahead. Others argue that having broad experience is the only way to be truly exceptional. But in a study of the role of specialization in workers' careers by Stanford researchers, it was concluded that a diverse work history hurts one's chances of promotion. Right? So this is in the workforce, and that specialization will lead to a longer, more productive career, and that is in fact the case in real estate because so many people are generalists in our space. So how do you specialize? How do you start to specialize in the real estate space in the area of probate? Well, just number one, remember that if you know just one thing more than the person that you're talking to, you're an expert. I want you to get this. I want you to understand. Do you get it? I mean, really, if you know one thing more than the person that you're talking to, you are an expert. You know more than them. Okay? Oh, Anthony, I don't know. That sounds silly. I don't know. Man, I need to know everything about probate before I even start talking about probate. Well, then you're going to get stuck. Okay, you're never going to be an expert at it. Because one of the ways you become an expert is as you start doing it. And guess what? You might mess one of them up. You might mess two of them up. Oh no. Okay? And when I say mess up, I mean just, you might forget a step or something like that along the way, which they're not complicated, guys. This is such a simple process, really, when you know the process. But if you know one thing more than the person you're talking to, you're an expert. Okay. Also, know the lingo. Just know the lingo. Okay. Like for me, if you go to theprobateagent.com, theprobateagent.com, and check out the glossary that we have, you're one step ahead of everybody else, a lot of other people in your space. And keep in mind, some of these terms may be different in your location because, it's different state by state, even county by county. It can change. Okay, but these are good general terms. If you know the lingo and you understand it and you kind of commit it to memory, when somebody challenges you between the difference between, an administrator and an executor, well, guess what? Now you can answer that. Okay, and then number 3, start claiming it. You just start claiming it. When people ask you what you do, tell them, I help people liquidate their family homes and estates when someone passes away. Instead of, I'm a real estate agent. Everybody knows a real estate agent. You ever been to a party and somebody comes up to you and goes, oh, so what do you do? Oh, I'm a real estate agent. Right? You're excited about it. This is what you do, what you love. I'm a real estate agent. But they go, oh, okay. And then they kind of start to meander away or whatever. Why? Everybody knows a real estate agent. Everybody knows a real estate agent. And there's a lot of us out there. So how do you stand out? Well, you know what? I help people liquidate their family homes and estates when someone passes away. Really? Wow, that's interesting. How'd you get into that? They start asking you questions. Right? Try this. I mean, I'm not kidding. If you want to simplify it, just say, hey, you know what? I sell homes that are in probate. I help people buy and sell homes that are in probate. You'll get a much better response than I'm a real estate agent. Okay? Try it out. Have fun with it. And see how people react differently than normal. This is the test. You've told how many people I'm a real estate agent. What kind of reaction did you get? I help people buy and sell homes that are going through the probate process. Oh, really? Okay. See if you get a different reaction. Try it. Right? And it doesn't hurt. And it's not a lie. Because if that opportunity comes up, are you going to take it? I hope so. Okay. Another thing you can do is, I talked about with the business card, order a specific business card that says you specialize in probate and keep it in a different pocket. Just keep it in a different pocket. You don't have to order a lot of them. Just order a little handful. Go to gotprint.com. That's where I get all my business cards, because it's the cheapest place on the earth to buy business cards. Way better than Vistaprint and all those other things. And they have a little designer on there. You just drop a logo on there, drop your name on there, specialize in probate sales. That's it. Okay. And then know your competition. Know what your market is, right? Get a grip on your real situation. Like I said, I didn't want to blow anybody's bubble up. When I talked about, like, in my area, there's 26,000 active real estate agents, and last month only 2,100 sales. But you got to know that so that you can go, oh yeah, that's right, man. I need to stand out. I need to be different. Okay? And then make an effort to implement a very specific plan to to reach the right audience. Attorneys, moving coordinators, executors, etc. Okay? If you go back a couple episodes, I talked about how I had to stand out and what I did to go out and reach out to attorneys. And in the last episode, I talked about how I reached out to moving coordinators. Okay? Come up with a specific plan to implement that you can go out to that audience and go after that. Okay? And then you'll be a specialist. But probably the most important of those is to start to claim it. I'm a probate specialist. There's the power of that affirmation too. When you start saying it, it starts to happen. Okay? You get up every day, you look in the mirror, and you go, you know what? I am the best probate specialist in this county. Next thing you know, you will be. Okay? So in the next episode, we're going to talk about how to deal with out-of-state heirs in a way that they don't have a choice but to deal with you. Catch you on the next episode.
Hey, thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe right here where you're listening to us right now, and any of your other social media platforms. And leave feedback for me. It's really important to me, and it helps us out. Do you have a question that you want answered live on the show? Go to theprobateagent.com to submit your question, or even to get an opportunity to be interviewed. For my agent friends, you'll also find additional content and some freebies there that you can download right now. Until next time, let's put the pro back into probate.